Under case law and statutory law in Indiana, the court makes no preference between the gender of the parents as to who is the fitter to have custody of the children. Once you start with that premises, then it opens the whole floodgates of all the different issues as to who should in fact have custody of these children. And it's very family specific. You can have all kinds of circumstances in one family that dictates where a child may go, and that may not be at all the same for another family. When we start talking about that, we start looking at who is going to be the fitter parent to look out for the best interest of the children. The court is looking to find out what can the court do to provide for the children's best interest. Once the court knows about both parties, then the court can make that decision. Therefore, the court is going to look at the educational levels of both parents. The court's going to look at the financial circumstances of both parents. The court then is going to look at what is the reason for this divorce. Is there in fact something been done by one of the parents that is detrimental to this family unit? Therefore, you can get into some of the areas of what we've talked about before, of fault. Does the person have a friend that's interfered with this marriage? Is that friend more important to that one parent than the children? That is a critical element today. With the internet and with the liberal arrangements that we have in our relationships, many people strike up relationships early on while they're still married and sacrifice the best interest of their children for their own wants and desires. And the court's very interested in that. Secondly, the courts are interested in, do you have emotional problems? Are you on medication? Are there reasons for those emotional problems? And then from the medication, we want to know if in fact you may be using self-prescription. Are you using drugs that aren't in fact prescribed? Do you in fact have alcohol problems? Do you have some other type of addictions that would have an impact on the children? Just because you may be on medication for depression or something like that does not mean that you can't be a great parent. But if that's in combination with other issues, that may be detrimental. The court's going to look at how you manage your money. Well, this gives us the background of the person to tell us whether or not they are really the better of the two to look at. Once we determine that a little bit, then we look at who has been the day-to-day parent, who has been there getting them off to school, who's been there helping Johnny learn how to read, who's been doing the laundry, who's been doing the grocery shopping and things like that, because that's also important. But when you start looking at it, you're looking at that whole plethora of that big ball of what makes up a family, and in the final decision then, which one of the parents can in fact come together and put their emotions, their desires aside and work for the best interest of the children within that whole parameter. And that's how the court makes its decision.